But take a look, 90-plus wins in the first 128 games of the season. We're trying to pick a starting point here. We picked the end of World War II, and it's only happened 5 times. This year's Dodgers, the 2017 Dodgers, the 2001 Mariners, they won 116 games. The all-time great 1998 Yankees, and the 1954 Indians. That was a team with Larry Doby, Al Rosen, Bob Lemon. Let's bring in the guys who know the history of the game. They'll have the call tonight, Bob Costas and Tom Verducci. Bob, I know you'd love that full screen there to see it, because those are some like the all-time great teams. Not all of them won the World Series, only the 98 Yankees. But where do you think, Bob, start with you, where do you think this Dodger club rates among the great Dodger teams you've seen?
I think that story will be written at the end of October or early November based on this year's schedule, because as you pointed out, of that group, only the 98 Yankees went on to win the World Series. And if you don't win it all, history treats you differently, not just in baseball. Think of the best Patriot team that almost went 19-0, but they lost the Super Bowl. The best of this run of Golden State Warriors teams lost to the Cavaliers in the final, and so they're not remembered the same way. Could be true of this year's Dodger team, too.
Yeah, I would agree. The 17 team was absolutely loaded. Don't forget that was the year the Houston Astros had a little bit of help, the team they lost to in the World Series. But, Brian, I think when you look at the way they're playing right now, they're in the conversation among the greatest teams ever. They do have to finish it off. But it's as simple as this. This game is about scoring runs and preventing runs. They lead the major leagues in both categories. Only 6 teams in the history of baseball have done that. The 01 Mariners were one of them, the 44 Cardinals during the war, 27 and 39 Yankees, we know they were loaded. And then you got to go back to the 06 Cubs, that's 1906,
yeah,
and the 02 Pirates. Now, I can't tell you if they're better than the 06 Cubs, but I do know the Dodgers are doing something exceptional when you talk about leading the major leagues in run scoring and run preventing. And oh, by the way, they also have the best defense in baseball. So they have everything that you want.
And BK, when you talk about those differentials, it isn't close. Their rotation is by far, the rotation ERA is by far the best in MLB. And their run differential is by far the best in MLB. It's not even close. They need to go 27-7, though, from this point on. They've won 41 of their last 50. They've got to go 27-7 to wind up with 117 victories and go past the 01 Mariners.
Yeah, look, they seem to be on that pace, though. You know, like they're 30-8 in the second half.
Yep.
And I'm glad you guys pointed that out, because we won't know until the end of the season how we'll judge them. But we are looking at something special. We ran the numbers. Tom, to your point, like, how is the team doing in hitting? How are they doing in fielding? How are they doing in base running? How are they do, overall? So here it is. The win percentage, the run differential, weighted runs created plus is a more sophisticated way of measuring hitting. Team ERA, we could do ERA plus, do the park adjustments. It's the same. They're number 1. All right, so defensive runs saved, they're number 2. And then base running, they're number 1 overall. Is there anything, too, and Tom, you can start on this, is there anything, too, that the Mets would be a better team over 1 week, or are we overplaying that with their top 2 pitchers?
You may be overplaying that a little bit just because of those numbers you put up there. And by the way, Brian, I would add one more thing to those numbers here. And the numbers tell it all, but the Dodgers yesterday, if you watched that game last night, the Dodgers got in yesterday at 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay, they had 5 of their 9 relief pitchers not available in the game. They're playing the second best team in the league on the road, and they win the game by 1 run by scratching out at bats late in the game. This team also has the it factor. It's hard to define, but you see the way they play. Another test tonight going up against Jacob deGrom. Not that they need to prove how good they are, but they've answered every test this year.
You know, BK, when you talk about a team that might beat a team like the Dodgers, it's a team that has superior starting pitching. So if you have deGrom and Scherzer both healthy, and the 3, 4, 5 behind them are no slouches either, I think back to another Dodger team that would have been the underdog in 1988. And when that World Series began, my thought was, if the Dodgers can steal Game 1, they have the upper hand because Hershiser was unbeatable. So the Gibson Miracle stole Game 1. Hershiser won Game 2, and he won Game 5. And they beat the best team in baseball 4-1. In a short series, especially if you have a true ace, and the Mets have 2 of them, you've always got a chance, even against the very best team.
Right, no, good point. And Bob, as you know, there's never been anything like Oral Hershiser that year. I mean, I'd like to Walter Johnson at his best, the most unbeatable. Bob Costas, Tom Verducci will have the call tonight. Thank you, fellas. Enjoy the game. Have a good one.